everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video in my teacher interview questions and answers series. So today's video is going to focus on another question, and this question they're going to ask, why are you interested in this position at our school? So if you haven't seen my first video in the series, go ahead and check that one out first. I'm going to go ahead and link it right up here, and these are all going to be in order so you can check that one first. This video is actually playing off of that first question. The first question was, tell me about yourself, and this one is, why do you want to work here? So these two questions are going to go hand in hand, but they are a little bit different in your answer and how you are going to phrase them. So the first one, you're introducing yourself and you're going over your resume, your skills, your experiences, and this is where you are going to tie in why you want to work at that specific school with that specific job or position. This is actually a two-sided question, so be sure to answer it correctly. Most students take a lot of pride in their staff, in their students, and in their overall workplace. So when someone asks you why you want to work there and why you want to work for them, it's really important that you actually make it look like that is your number one choice, even if it's not. Sometimes you'll actually apply to a job and you won't know what school it's for. A lot of the times you'll apply for jobs and it'll just be a pool. And then when you are called for an interview, they will let you know what school you will be interviewing with. One time I actually applied for a pool and I showed up to an interview with 6 different schools all on the same panel interviewing me. So you don't really know what school it is until they interview you on some of them. But when you are able to find out what school it is, this is how you're going to ace the question. Once they invite you to an interview, they're going to tell you which school you're going to be applying for. Your job is to actually do a lot of research on that school. Look up the school's website and look up all of the teacher pages. If you're applying for an English position, go through the English department page and go through the specific English teachers pages too. Every teacher usually has their own page on the website, so you can click on those, and it's usually for students, so people will post up slideshows or anything that they have to show for their students or parents for back to school night, things like that. So check out those pages and do as much research as you can about not only the school, but the department as well. If the position is actually for multiple subjects, then you want to make sure you're looking at other teachers' pages as well. So if you are applying for a job that's not only for English, but it's also for AVID and for ASB, look at the pages for the AVID teachers in the AVID department, as well as the ASB teachers and ASB department. If you're applying for an elementary school, then just look at all the teachers' pages. Chances are your school's not as big as a high school, so there won't be too many teachers, but get as much information as you can and do as much research as you can using that school website. One thing you want to make sure that you look up is the school's philosophy. I have been on a lot of different school websites, and every single time you will find something called the school philosophy. The school philosophy is most likely going to be written on the About page. If you go to the About page on the website, it's going to show you their mascot, it's going to show you their philosophy, it's going to show you the principal, it's going to give you a lot of information about the school, but sometimes it's actually a slogan that's actually on the front page too. If you see the name of the school, sometimes the slogan is at the bottom. The slogan is going to be your school philosophy. The philosophy is basically the rules for the school in the sense of how it runs, how they want to run, what their goal is. Every time they get students, what is their goal with the students? How do they want to teach the students, and how do they want the students to learn? A lot of different schools will have relatively similar philosophies. Most of them will focus on preparing students for college and careers. So if you mess up and you don't do your research, just know that a lot of schools are aiming to prepare students for both college and career. With things changing in education technology-wise and 21st century learning coming up front, there's a lot of things that you can say that will go along those lines. Focus on the idea of collaboration, of critical thinking, of communication, and of creativity. Those are some 4 keywords that you can say in the philosophy if you don't know theirs. They are going to ask you what your teaching philosophy is, so that's why I want to make sure you know those keywords. Find out what their school philosophy is and make sure that whatever you say about your teaching philosophy in the next question will line up with their school philosophy. What are you doing in your classroom that's actually lining up for their school philosophy? So when they ask you why you want to work at that specific school, bring up their philosophy. Let them know that you did your research and you know what their philosophy is, and you'll be a great fit. In addition to the school philosophy, you can look up a lot of different things about the school. You can look up their school accountability report card, and that's going to tell you a lot of different things in terms of the demographics of the school, in terms of how many kids are on a free lunch. It can tell you how many expulsions or suspensions they've had at the school. It can tell you how many kids are in each grade. It can tell you so much about the school and the demographics of the students that you might be interested in finding out. Maybe the students are struggling in their English section on their tests, or maybe their math math tests. If you are applying for an English or math position, bring that up and let them know that you have experience bringing test scores up with students too. Then go ahead and look at the athletics page. If you're at a junior high school or an elementary school, you might not even have an athletics page on the school website, but if you are at a high school or if you do happen to have some sort of athletics or activities or club pages on the site, go ahead and click on those and get some ideas of what it's like to be a student at this school. You can get an idea of what kind of sports they offer, what kind of activities they offer. Do they have an ASB? Do they put on prom? Do they put on all these other experiences for the students? What kind of activities are they doing during lunch, after school, before school? What clubs do they have? And a lot of the times you can actually see some of the requirements that teachers may have as they work there by looking through things like that. One time I was looking through a school website and I found out that every single teacher on the campus that I looked up on their website, all of them had a club. They were all in charge of a club. Either it was one person in charge of a club by themselves or it was two people working together in charge of a club. So that I can automatically assume that if I get the job, then I'm going to be required to also host a club meeting or some kind of club of some sort and be the leader of that. So there's a lot that you can actually find out on the school website. So make sure you do your research and find out the ways how you are going to fit perfectly into that school, because remember, they want to hire someone who wants to work there. They don't want to hire someone who just, applied to a pool. But if you're actually showing them that you wanted that school and you were so excited for that school and this is how you'd be the perfect fit, then they're probably going to like you a whole lot more as opposed to other people who just applied to a pool and it really showed. If you are qualified to teach other classes or if you're qualified to do any sports or activities, make sure you mention that too. I once went to a school website and I noticed that they didn't have a softball team on their website. I have coached softball before. I have experience in that and I've done it myself before. So I actually brought that up in my interview. So I talked about why I wanted a position at their school. Well, for this reason, this reason, this reason. And I also noticed that you guys don't have a softball team. Well, I actually coached a softball team a few years ago and I played softball my entire life growing up. So if you guys were interested, I would definitely love to start up a softball team and maybe get a league going around your district with the other schools. Make sure you're selling yourself, because there's a lot of times when schools post a listing for one specific job, like an English teacher, but most of the time they need more than just an English teacher. Sometimes they need a class for drama. Sometimes they need a class for journalism. If you have any experience, skills, or interest in teaching those classes as well, then make sure you let them know, because they're more likely to pick someone who's more flexible and willing to volunteer for those classes where other teachers wouldn't want to do. So definitely make sure you're doing your research, not only at the school website, but also check out the district website. See what they have to say as well. If you're more like me and you actually want a digital copy of all of this information, you can go in the down bar. I actually created a resource for you and it's in my Etsy shop, so you can click on that and check it out. It's about 22 pages full of information with lots of different questions and answers that I go over. Each video in this series is going to have one question with lots of different ideas for answers, but the resource actually goes even more in depth and has all of them together in one resource. So go ahead and check that out in my Etsy store. It's linked in the down bar. And make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified on my next video in the series. If you guys have any other specific interview questions that you would like me to answer, or if there were any questions that you asked and you may have stumbled on, make sure you let me know down in the comment section and I will make a video specifically to answer that question. If this video helped you out at all, make sure you give it a thumbs up and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
You and I till the end, don't need to